Every time we get down to doing something for the long-term financial security of this country, they take that football, and it's a Charlie Brown episode. They jerk the ball away.
I think it'd be better for our country, but at this point, having a backup plan to make sure that as few American taxpayers are affected by this increase as possible, moving down that path is the right course of action for us.
Once you cross that line and say, like, some people, it's okay for some people's taxes to go up, I think it's a mistake for the Republican Party. So that's what I think a lot of members are struggling with.
In the summer of 2010, Senator Schumer said, quote, first, I don't know a single one of my colleagues who wouldn't prefer to do tax breaks for people up to $1 million. It's my understanding that that is essentially the proposal that the House of Representatives is likely to send over to us later in the week.
Look, I think Boehner has given so much on taxation that he's really at risk of going overboard unless he gets serious stuff on spending. He's got nothing on spending. And in the past, Republicans, starting with Reagan way back in the early 80s, got swindled on spending. He said, in fact, Reagan said, he cut a deal where he raised taxes. He was promised $3 of spending cuts for every dollar of taxes raised. He got nothing, and he said it was the biggest political regret he had. This is the football and Charlie Brown all over again. The Republicans, I think, Boehner, probably made a mistake by caving on rates, but that's already done. I mean, if he were to start all over, I don't think he should have or would have. But it's obvious they've caved on rates, and I think he's absolutely right and very smart at this juncture to offer what he calls a Plan B, which is the Republicans in the House will pass probably tomorrow a bill that would raise taxes only on those over $1 million. And we know it's exactly what the Democrats, like Schumer in the Senate, had proposed, so it's utter hypocrisy in rejecting it. But there was this hilarious response by Carney today rejecting. He said the Speaker's Plan B approach doesn't meet the test protecting the middle class because it can't pass the Senate. Now, think about that, how idiotic it is. It obviously and demonstrably, irrefutably protects the middle class because it protects everybody up to $1 million. But he's saying it can't protect the middle class because Democrats will reject it, which will not enable it to protect the middle class. I don't know what Carney's being paid, but it really isn't enough if you have to say stuff like that.
In other words, the Senate would shoot it down for politics, but it would protect the middle class because the taxes wouldn't get raised.
Yes.
The taxes would be raised on people making $1 million
over
plus.
$1 million. But his argument is it's not going to help the middle class because we'll kill it before it can help the middle class. Given a deal where Obama offers essentially nothing on spending or Plan B, where you pass the tax increase for only over $1 million, you have to go to Plan B. That's a much smarter option. I think the Plan A is absurd.
You have three choices down the row. Deal, Plan B, over the cliff.
I've been over the cliff, and I'm still there.
Right.
We've been very clear from the beginning that she had a stomach virus, an ugly stomach virus. She got very dehydrated. She fainted. It was later discovered she had sustained a concussion. On doctor's orders, she is working at home this week. She's on the mend. She's going to be absolutely fine. She is working at home. As you know, she got the ARB report yesterday. She read through it yesterday. She's been working on the letter that will go with it to the Hill. She's been on the phone and in email contact with senior staff.
Former UN Ambassador John Bolton calls this a diplomatic illness. And we heard from Victoria Nuland that it's a bad bug. I think that perhaps it's a Benghazi allergy. She seems to have a severe Benghazi allergy. 5 days after the attack, she was not out there to address the American people. She sent out somebody whom the president himself said had no idea, was not involved at all in Benghazi. And now that she's supposed to speak to the Congress about this, she has this illness. Now, I'm not going to say she doesn't have one. I'd be happy to give her a neurologic exam, but in the absence of that, I'll take her word. But there is something strange about this. She did say, ostentatiously, I take full responsibility for this for the attack in Benghazi. She said that during the campaign, which is completely and utterly meaningless. What does that mean? In Britain, when there was an invasion of the Falklands, the foreign secretary resigned over it, even though it wasn't his fault, as a matter of principle. If it happens on your watch, you resign. That obviously isn't going to happen in her case, but she won't even speak about it, which ought to be the minimal requirement. And I think that's incumbent upon her to do.
This has been a Sunfish production.